attend today. So we are starting that now. I do want to, I'm going to let Janet and Carrie introduce themselves, but I want to welcome them as part of today's conversation. I think the information that they're going to share is going to be really exciting and maybe a great way that you can start encouraging your users, or if you are a user, how you can use them. Milestone checklists when you're doing visits with families, or to supplement with videos to send home. The checklist, I think, are a huge useful tool to match up with the Ready Rosie videos. But these guys, I think Janet probably did the heavy work of looking at Ready Rosie playlists and then matching that up with the milestone checklist and what the CDC's has to offer as far as monitoring that list and utilizing videos to its fullest potential. So I'm going to let Janet introduce herself first, and then I will let Carrie introduce herself, and then you guys will have the floor to just start as you like.
Awesome. Thank you, Shauna. As Shauna said, my name is Janet, and I am a pre-doctoral intern at the Monroe Meyer Institute in the psychology department. And I am here today to talk to you about a project that I've been working on in conjunction with Carrie Miller to bridge the resources that Ready Rosie, the video organization, offers, as well as the CDC's milestone moments and Learn the Science Act Early. So we'll be talking to you guys about that today and talking about how this resource can help families and service providers give resources to families and kids.
I'll jump in. Thanks, Janet. And you are right, Shauna. Janet did the majority of the lifting after I kind of conceptualized this idea. She was willing to jump in and do this for us. So I am Carrie Miller from UNMC Monroe Meyer Institute. I am also the Learn the Science Act Early Ambassador to Nebraska from the CDC. Before I kind of launch into my part in the overview of Learn the Science Act Early, if you could just use your little thumbs up on your Zoom if you are familiar with Learn the Science Act Early, the campaign. Okay, well, I always love to share this with people that are not as familiar with it. So I will go ahead and share my screen if that's okay, Shauna. Okay. Sorry, I need to get everybody's pictures up. So I want to just talk a little bit about what we're going to go through today. I'll give you an overview of the Learn the Science Act Early campaign and just touch on a few of the materials that are available. A quick touch on Ready Rosie by Janet, and then she's going to talk about how we conceptualized and really saw a need or an ability to bridge these two programs together. And then she's going to walk you through the resource that she developed. And we'll talk about the benefits of using this resource and then open it up to questions from you all. So developmental monitoring, we've all heard of developmental monitoring. We have all heard of developmental screening, but I just want to touch on the difference between monitoring and screening, because sometimes that's about as clear as mud as far as what the difference is if you're not as familiar with it. So when we talk about developmental monitoring, we're really looking at how a child grows and changes over time and whether they're meeting their developmental milestones or not. Developmental monitoring really looks at the all areas of development: cognition, learning, language, how they're moving, how they're interacting with others. And the unique thing about developmental monitoring that sets it apart from developmental screening is that parents, grandparents, early childhood providers, and other caregivers can participate in this monitoring of a child's development. And so it's really looking at a brief checklist of milestones to see if the child is meeting those milestones. And developmental monitoring can happen frequently. I've known parents that are like, oh my gosh, every Friday I sit down and look at the milestones to see how my child is doing. Where we know that developmental screening, which is historically happening in physicians' offices and some Head Starts, early Head Starts, places like that, doesn't happen weekly. We know that it happens incrementally, and the American Academy of Pediatrics has some set points in the child's development where they're recommending those screenings. So that's really how it sets it apart. So developmental monitoring is important. We know that it's important. And so we want to make sure that we're using it as a step in the early identification of delays and disabilities. And that's really when the CDC looks at how we identify delays and disabilities early. This is our first step when they think about that, getting parents engaged in monitoring their child's development. So how do we do that? That is where the Learn the Signs Act Early campaign comes into place. And so it was developed by the Centers for Disease Control to really promote this developmental monitoring and really educate families about milestones, including what to expect and when they need to be concerned about their child's development. The materials aren't meant to be a replacement for developmental screening or those recommendations from the AAP for developmental screening, but they're meant to help parents to be better informed when they're monitoring their child's early development, and really meant to be a resource for families. Encouraging the parents to use these materials is really helpful because it starts to help them understand their child's development, and it's easier to have conversations with them then if something is concerning down the road. So parents who are more familiar with their milestones might better be able to advocate for their child should there be a concern. So let's take a look at a couple of the things that are available. This is the Milestone Moments booklet that is available. It's oh, that's blurry, sorry about that. A complete milestone checklist for ages 2 months to 5 years. It gives them some activities that can be used at home, and it also gives them a space to write questions that they might take to ask their childcare provider or their pediatrician or physician if they do have concerns. And it really helps them prepare for those well child visits where those screenings are going to be happening. The milestone checklists are the same things that are contained in the booklet, but they're in checklists that are addressing certain age increments. So they're also for two months to 60 months of age, and you can print these off individually for the child's age, and are also, I should say, the Milestone Moment booklet and these checklists are also available in Spanish for families to use. And the really cool thing that the CDC offers, and they actually just rolled out a new app, I don't even have the new app flyer on here, is a tracker app that is meant for families to be able to follow their child's progress on hitting these milestones. And it then gives them a summary of their child's milestones that they can take right to the physician, or if they made a referral to Early Development Network, the early intervention, they could share that and say, hey, I've been tracking my child's development and here's the summary that I received. And gives them tips on how they can talk to their physician if they are concerned. And it gives reminders of when they need to do their next checklist. So I have like a fictitious child on my app because I don't have any children this age anymore, but it will pop up. It's time to do Ashby's 2-month checklist, 6-month checklist. And so I kind of follow along with it that way just to see what families are seeing on their end. You can go and get many of these materials for free at the Learn the Signs Act Early website that's listed here. I also have the ability as the ambassador to customize materials, so I have access to the materials that we could put your logo or contact information on. We have a grant where we just printed a lot of materials that are being disseminated across the state to Sixpence and Nebraska McVee participants. I don't know if any of you are on, but you'll be getting packages of these materials soon if you fall into those two programs. But I'm always happy to talk through what might work for your program with these materials. And I will turn it over to Janet now. Whoops, sorry, Janet. Let me just stop sharing.
Awesome. So now I'm going to share my screen and tell y'all a little bit about Ready Rosie and how this resource can be helpful as a resource for videos to demonstrate positive parenting for parents and for caregivers. So let me get on the right slide. Awesome. Okay. So as we mentioned, Ready Rosie is an organization. It is a subscription-based app or website where parents and caregivers and early childhood providers can view videos that demonstrate positive parenting practices that span an entire range of developmental domains and also span early developmental periods, including early infancy through upper elementary school. And there's numerous videos. There's over 700. So the breadth of resources that's available on Ready Rosie is quite wide. And it is a very extensive video bank of these resources. So like Carrie Miller was saying, Learn the Signs Act Early has a lot of benefits. Its personal strength is just how clear and available for free these developmental monitoring checklists are. It really allows parents and early childhood providers to be keeping score of how an individual child is developing as frequently as they want or need. But in terms of limitations, there are great resources for tracking development, but limited resources in terms of promoting early development. So if a child isn't hitting a milestone that they quote unquote should by a certain age on the milestone tracker, what do we do about it? So Learn the Signs Act Early materials don't quite tell us what to do next, but Ready Rosie, its personal strength is in the quality and diversity of videos that are offered. There are many, as we spoke to a moment ago, many videos that show parents interacting with their kids in all sorts of ways to promote different specific skills. So it really does the showing of what parents can do with their kids. In terms of where the drawbacks are for Ready Rosie, so this video bank of over 700 videos is very expansive, but it is not specifically labeled. So the label might have infancy or it might have elementary school, but the videos aren't necessarily organized by specific domain for specific ages, the way that Learn the Signs Act Early materials are. And I see some chats. Go ahead and check those. Oh, awesome. So there's a link for more resources. Okay. So where we come in with this project is bridging that gap. So as we spoke to, each of these resources has its strengths and limitations. How can we connect them to harness the strengths of both and make it really easy and accessible and beneficial to use them both in practice? So I kind of did the heavy lifting. I took one for the team in terms of watching all of the videos that Ready Rosie offers, all 700 plus of them. And I considered the positive parenting interactions and the type of activity and skill that the parents were promoting in that video. And I mapped those videos onto the Learn the Signs Act Early milestones that the CDC puts forth. And I organized this into the different ages in which the CDC has milestones to track, and made it really easy for providers and just any early childhood provider or caretaker to take a look at the milestones and determine ideas and opportunities to watch parenting videos on how a parent might promote that skill. So this is an example of, for 2 months old, we see that it's labeled with the age, so it's easy to identify this is the table that we would look at for a baby this old. And as we spoke to earlier, so the CDC's Learn the Signs Act Early breaks it down into different areas of development, 5 in particular: social, emotional, language, cognitive, and movement, and the different skills that we would expect a kid at certain ages to have. So that's broken down in this resource as well. And here's just one specific example. So at 2 months old, we would expect a baby this age to try to look at their parent. And if this is a skill that caretakers are trying to promote in their baby, on the right, there are the videos from Ready Rosie that demonstrate ways parents can interact with their baby to try to promote that skill. So it does a great job demonstrating ways that parents who may have tried other things, may have just had their own ideas and not known where to go from here. It can show them ways in which they can try to help their kid reach a specific milestone. And as always, the other side of the coin is if there are significant concerns related to delays. In this resource, we have also included specific skill deficits that if a kiddo is having difficulties with certain skills or haven't reached certain milestones by a certain age, and it's a clear indicator that something might be going on, there might be a clinically significant delay, those are listed as well. And those would be used in conjunction with the CDC resources on how to contact a pediatrician, the child's pediatrician, to discuss potential delays. Okay, so we are going to walk through a scenario where an early childhood provider might be working with a family in their home or just in consultation, and how this resource might be helpful for them. So for example, you're working with a family with a 9-month-old baby who's mastered all of the 9-month milestones, except parents notice that she doesn't really look for things that she sees her parents hide. So this is what the 9-month-old checklist looks like. So for this particular baby, everything's checked except for this one milestone, and it would be an immediate opportunity to see possibilities for modeling ways to promote that skill. So the resource is right there. All you need to do is search for that video. You already have the name and you would be able to access it. And I'll go ahead and share my screen and give an example of what a Ready Rosie video looks like if you haven't used Ready Rosie.
Janet, the screen is, I don't know if the screen is small for everybody. For me, I mean, I can make it larger, but can you just tell them what the milestone that they didn't reach, how you have highlighted there, what that one is?
Yeah, so it says, looks for things she sees you hide. Yes, so for this particular example, for this baby, developmentally, she's meeting all other milestones. There's really no developmental concerns, but for some parents, as we know in our work, you see one unchecked box and they want some resources. So this is an example of, in that instance, we have an opportunity to provide resources for them without needing to do a lot of digging or searching because the resource is already there and mapped. All right. So for this example, this is the video that is mapped onto looks for things she sees you hide. And this is a video called Buried Treasure. And we'll see in this video and in all Ready Rosie videos just ubiquitously, the parent-child interaction feels very real. It's real parents interacting with their kids. And it's very doable. So Ready Rosie, one of its other strengths is how it utilizes opportunities that naturally present themselves in parent-child interactions in their daily life with materials that most parents have or resources in the neighborhood that they would have going to a park, for example. And it gives examples of ways to tweak the way parents interact with kids to just make it a little bit more effective at promoting a specific skill. So, oh, wait, sorry, I need to allow sound, share sound. A year into this and I'm still learning. Okay.
What do you think? You excited? Does it feel good? You feel it? Look, you want to bury a toy? You want to put this toy? It's green and blue. It's got the balls. Okay, watch. I'm going to hide it, okay? Look here. We're going to dig a hole. And we're going to, no, can't touch it yet. We're going to dig a hole and watch. We're going to bury it as best as we can till you can find it. Okay, where did the toy go? Where'd it go? Can you find it? Where is it? Look. Oh, can you see? Look there. What is that? Is that the toy? Is that the toy right there? Can you grab the toy? Here, look. Can you get the toy? Oh, there it is. You found it.
So that is an example of a Ready Rosie video. And another thing that I like about it is it really shows that scaffolding is appropriate and okay for parents. It showcases, you know, interventions and ideas for interactions not going perfectly. In that example, the baby still kind of didn't really know what was going on, and it demonstrates to parents that sometimes that's okay. And really it's just about keeping it positive and giving additional opportunities and unique experiences to try to gain that skill that we're working on. Okay. Where is my mouse disappeared? Hold on. I'm so sorry. There we go.
I'm going to jump in, Janet, and just say that there's people that are really liking this, and we've been asked if they will get this document. And once we make sure we have CDC cited and everything on it, we'll give it to Shauna to send out to you all and
Awesome.
have it as a resource.
Wonderful. Well, that is ultimately the point. We really want providers to like this resource and see it as a helpful tool and not necessarily something that is going to be saved on their computer and never looked at again. We want to make it easier for providers to have resources at their fingertips to serve families with. So any feedback about this is super helpful. And honestly, we hope to get some feedback about ways that this resource is helpful and ways we can make it better. Carrie, do we have time for another example walkthrough?
I think so.
Yes.
Are we good,
Yeah.
Shauna?
I think the more you can share, the better. Yep.
Awesome, beautiful. Just wanted to be mindful of time as well. So as we spoke to, CDC's Learn the Science Act Early spans from 2 months all the way through 5 years. And the Bridge resource that we have built and are introducing to y'all spans that age range as well. So we have things, we have it mapped out for infancy all the way up through 5 years old. And this example walkthrough, this is an example of a 3-year-old who misuses prepositions, excuse me. So mixing up things like in, on, under. So here's an example of how a checklist might be filled out for this particular kiddo. It is very small on the PowerPoint. In real life, it's in a Microsoft Word document and it's very readable. But because it is so small, I will kind of talk through. So right now, understands words like in, on, and under is highlighted. That is a milestone that we would expect most 3-year-olds to be proficient in. And if a 3-year-old is not, there are some positive parenting practices that might help with encouraging the correct use of those prepositions. So one in particular that I'll go ahead and show is called the Stuffed Animal Olympics. Another thing in this resource is that there's a brief description that I wrote about each and every one of these videos to give you a sense of, is this something that is going to work for this family? Every family is different, every kid is different. So this little brief description goes beyond the title to tell you a little bit about what this video is going to show. And that can give you a little bit more insight before you click on it and determine if this is going to be a good fit for that family. So let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll show the video selected for this particular example. It's called Stuffed Animal Olympics. Oh, no, it is not. Well, good thing I can just do a quick look. So this is the Ready Rosie website. And as we can see, this is the video library, and there are some filters, but I will say in the many hours I spent on the site, it's pretty difficult to find a specific video if you're looking for it, which is where mapping it out comes in handy. And if you run into the issue of, having the wrong link, having the titles are helpful. So Stuffed Animal Olympics. So you would just search it like that, have it immediately, and this is an example of modeling the correct use of prepositions.
I got you. I've got you. Hey, let's play a game. Let's have our animals race each other, and they can have some obstacles. Would you like to do that? Yeah. Let's race with some obstacles. First, what obstacle do you want to use? You want to use this one? Okay, what can they do with this? Can they go over or around? Over. They'll go over this one. Okay, what obstacle do you want to use second? This one? Under. Under this one? Yeah. Okay, then what? Around this one. They want to go around this one? Yeah. Let's try that. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. And through this one. You want to go through this one? Mm-hmm. Let me see. Can we go through it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll put this right here and go through. Okay, what's first? Over. Over. What's second? Under. Under. What's third? Around. Around. What's fourth? Through. Through. You're right. Let's try it. Are you ready? On your mark. Wait for me. On your mark. Get set. Go. I'm gonna get you. Ah! I got stuck.
So as y'all can see, this is a type of parent-child interaction that parents might not have thought of. I mean, I haven't ever thought of using stuffed animals to have a little Olympics when I interact with the kids in my life, but it's very doable. When parents see this, it's something that is modeled and they can easily adopt themselves for most families. Another thing that I really like about Ready Rosie, and you might have noticed in this particular video, the child in this video seemed to really have this skill well. He was using these prepositions spontaneously on his own. So if you have a differential level of skill in a specific area like this, every single video has an explanation of what the task is, why it's important for development, and what to do if there's a need to differentiate the activity, to bring it down a notch, to meet the child where they're at, if it's too hard for them right now, or if it's pretty easy and they need something to challenge them a little bit more. Every single video has that, which is really awesome. Okay. And then this is our last example of the PowerPoint, but I'm happy to talk through any more if anyone has questions. So for example, you are working with a family with a 2-year-old who meets almost no age-appropriate social or language developmental milestones. So we have the checklist at our disposal, and we are realizing that this little boy meets none of those milestones. And when you look at the act early warning or indication, and he is aligning with those indications or indicators as well. So for example, doesn't use 2-word phrases, doesn't know what to do with common things, doesn't mimic or imitate. So skill regression, any of those red flags, those are listed on this resource as well. And again, we would really encourage providers to couple this resource with the CDC's resources on ways to contact professionals and get help for that particular child.
I'm just going to chime in real quick, Janet, that the CDC tools, the milestones are evidence-based, and how they set the norming is that 90% of children of that age should have those skills that are listed. So when you have children that are not showing some of those skills under the red flags or a significant amount of the milestones, I just want to encourage you not to be dismissive of that, because we know that 90% of children that age should have those skills. So we definitely want to help the family take the next steps to getting a referral to early intervention or speaking with their physician about getting the appropriate services and supports in place for that child.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And really the job of early childhood professionals and providers is so valuable in the sense that you are a professional who is laying eyes on the kid, one of the first professionals to really work with the family. So your knowledge of the milestones and recognition that there might be something else going on that is worthy of investigation, attention, and seeking additional support is really valuable for families and provides opportunity for the child to get additional services that they may need and would benefit them long-term, just based on how helpful early intervention is. So that's definitely something to consider and keep in mind as you use this tool. So there's lots of benefits for using this resource. So as we spoke to earlier, the examples, the video examples are immediately on hand. So instead of kind of wondering or explaining an intervention that might be helpful without a type of parent modeling video, it's very easy to have a variety of examples that you could apply to the work that you do with families. Instead of going to search for it, it's all right there. It's very parent friendly, so every video that is mapped on is it's targeted for families and for parents to learn from. It's designed for them. It's also available in Spanish and subtitled in multiple languages, so it is pretty accessible for most families. Predictions of developmental guidance made simpler. So that question that parents ask and providers also ask, like, what do we do now, is made easier. So we're able to give guidance without necessarily struggling to find resources from different places. It's all right there. This is also really great for virtual visits. When we're not able to physically be together, it can be hard to describe what we are expecting parents to do with their kids, even if we do have a great idea for an intervention. So this is a wonderful opportunity to show parents what we mean when we are describing positive parenting to them. And again, it harnesses the benefits of both of these resources from the CDC with tracking milestones and with Ready Rosie for promoting development.
Thanks, Janet. So we want you, like, I feel like I need to have the Uncle Sam like pointing at you. We know that you're on this call because you have access to Ready Rosie. We know that your lives are busy and chaotic with COVID added to it. And maybe Ready Rosie isn't being utilized to its best capacity in our state. So we're hoping that this resource can help support you in the work that you do with children and families, to really give you a guide to say, hey, let's monitor your child's development, which we want to be doing, and we want to be promoting that in our state. And here I have some things we can watch together to foster your child's development and really support you in your parenting. As Janet said, I can picture this as a former home visitor, like really embedding these into daily routines and activities where we would watch a video together and then say, can you think of other times where you might be able to hide something like that? The parent might go, oh, I'm not bringing sand into my house, like that first video that we watched. Well, let's think of another time where you could hide something. Like, what about bath time? What about with a washcloth and a bath toy? And really build on that. And so it really gives you as the professional and provider a springboard to really launch into what works best for families to support children's development, and knowing that you're monitoring their development with the milestone checklist really just gives you that oomph that you need behind it to really get the parent on board with you. So we would love for you to start piloting this and using this tool. So as I mentioned, we'll give it to Shauna to disseminate. I know I saw Teddy on. Janet, I haven't introduced you to Teddy yet, from Ready Rosie. She was chiming in the chat box. And I know early on, Teddy, you showed me a place where we could put a document like this for our state. So we might want to work with you to have that so that it's on the Ready Rosie site for the state of Nebraska, if I'm remembering that correctly. But we also want feedback and to know what works about this. What do you like? What doesn't work? How can we improve it? Janet has done an amazing job. She did this as her Lend Trainee Community Leadership Project. So we thank her for watching all of the videos and really doing, as she said, that the heavy lift for you all. And we hope that this can be beneficial in your work that you're all doing.
I will say there were quite a lot of videos, but it moved quickly because all the videos are around a minute or two long, so it's not very intensive. And they were all so engaging in the sense that you can tell that parents and children were enjoying themselves. So it really does strike it's engaging for parents too. I'm sure that they can envision themselves doing the things that they see in the videos with their own children. So I think parents would really enjoy having Ready Rosie videos being a part of their care.
I do. Thank you, Janet and Carrie. That was so good. And you know what? Anytime we do a training with Teddy and she shows a video, I'll be saying, oh, that's my favorite Ready Rosie video. I'm going to say today, I think maybe Stuffed Animal Olympics may have now become my new next favorite Ready Rosie video. It just makes me smile every time I watch it. I love it. I am going to open it up to questions. I do see Amy, you're unmuted. So did you have a question that you were wanting to ask? No? Okay. Sorry. I just thought maybe as a researcher, your brain was going and you wanted to throw something out there. Okay.
Amy and I have chatted a little bit about just that we'll kind of be seeing if we see changes in the user data once you guys have access to this resource, to see if maybe it helps foster your use of Ready Rosie a little bit more. So we'll be kind of watching that. So.
Okay. I do see this. I will open it up to questions here in just 1 second, but at the last event that I was a participant of, I talked a lot about how Ready Rosie could be used with the Step Up to Quality for the parent engagement piece of it. You can use that platform really to its best extent to earn some of those program points that you need for the Step Up to Quality. But I'm just looking at this too, and I think Saffron from Grand Island had mentioned, and Saffron, please chime in, that the milestone checklist could be used as a tool to monitor development within Step Up to Quality as your part of your child outcomes, which is like number 2 on the program guide. So we keep bringing Ready Rosie back into Step Up to Quality, and now I can see where this milestone checklist could also be part of Step Up to Quality, and how these tools together can really help those programs who are wanting to work themselves up the steps in such a simple way. So Saffron, could you maybe talk a little bit about how you've used that tool with your providers as a Step Up to Quality coach?
Yes, I can. So what we do is if they don't want to purchase the ASQs, most people say, well, we think we need the ASQs, but I come in as a coach and I say, hey, you don't have to purchase the pricey ASQs. You can use the these milestones and do that same thing. Because you can either download them and print them. Some of my programs have just purchased the books and had one book per child, or they've used them in tandem with what the parent, maybe they have the parent use the app and then the program prints off the checklists. So you can use it for your 90-day baseline, as well as they can use it for their ongoing assessment. So you can use these the development milestones to earn a variety of different points in the Step Up to Quality structure.
So I'm going to open the floor up to questions or comments for Carrie, Janet, or maybe even Saffron if you want to understand what she's saying a little bit more, or any feedback that you may have to today's presentation.
I would just like to say, Saffron, that's great. There are some states that have implemented this as a requirement for a step. So that's my 2022 goal, to be working with you all to see if we can work on that here. Can you see yourselves using these two tools in tandem and being beneficial for families?
I think for me as a provider, I mean, it helps to have things kind of streamlined. And so if you have a resource that you can apply, and I think it will just be happy. And I really do love the document that Janet created. I can see it's like a lot of hard work went into that, but I think it would be really, really helpful to, especially for if you're working on something really strongly with a child, that is like a goal on your assessment, and to be able to have that pulled up and share with families and send really quick, I think that would be really helpful. And just because I do get lost looking through the videos, it's kind of like you go down a rabbit hole almost of when you start looking for this one, and then you're like, oh, well, that one's kind of cool, and oh, that one's kind of cool. You just keep going, and then by the time you forget what you were even looking for. So to kind of have that like set in mind, like, oh, okay, I'm going to send this video to this family for this reason. I think
to tag on to that, I think families then see a value of it, because you could send the stuffed animal Olympics and they'd be like, great, I don't need to be talking to my child about in, on, under, through. But if they can see that that's an important milestone because the CDC says it's important, then they may be more apt to implement something like that at home. So I think the two tools just can support your work with families greatly.
As providers, how do you see that tool living electronically?
Say that again.
As providers, how do you see that tool as something that you would use, like something you could refer to on a click away, like as an electronic, something that you can just reach out to and it's right there? Or, I mean, I'm just curious as to what you see that this work, how it lives in your life and how you would access it and utilize it.
Yeah, I just want to intervene just real quickly. Since we have become part of teaching strategies, I don't know how easy it is to add another alignment document to the actual Ready Rosie site where you guys could reference it, where you can reference the Head Start outcomes and the early Head, you can align with early Head Start and Head Start and your state standards. We don't have as much freedom now to add to that alignment document section and under resources. I've made a note to double check that. I personally think that would be an incredible resource for any program, whether they're in Nebraska or you know, Alaska or whatever. So I'll double check on that, but just hear that little caveat that you know, I'm not sure 100% that we can do that. So I'm hoping that it lives within Ready Rosie. So just didn't want to get everybody's hopes up 100% and then, you know, it doesn't happen.
If you could keep me abreast of that, Teddy, because we, Janet presented this document to CDC. They were very excited about it.
Yeah.
And asked a lot of questions about Ready Rosie and how other states might utilize this. So
Sure, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And I'm sending it to like the top 2 people who would make that decision. I had invited them to be on the call today, but they had conflicting things. So
I think also just not only is it great as a provider having a checklist for you know, parents and stuff, I also think it is a great way for us to educate people who might be out of early childhood that we're not just sitting around watching kids play. Like we are making sure they are meeting these milestones, and these like our job is much more than just babysitting, if you will, but these are the milestones that we're looking for, and this is the plan that we have if we're not seeing these milestones met. So I think you can use it kind of on the other side too as an education piece for either, you know, adults who don't have kids in the early childhood system anymore, or you know, business partners. You know, this is what we're doing and this is how we're making sure our kids are meeting these milestones in our center. You know, this is how we are being accountable, if you will.
I love that. Thank you.
To answer Shauna's question, I think I would use both paper and electronic just for myself, because there's still stuff I do on paper that I have file folders with all the kids' names on it for their observation and stuff. So sometimes it'd be, you know, easy to stick that with my observation tools just to kind of be able to pull up. But I still, you know, it would be good to have it accessible in a document, like a PDF document, when I was creating a playlist too. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you, Teddy, for chiming in too, looking in to see what can be done on the Ready Rosie side. This is, to me, the best of both worlds. Milestone checklist, Ready Rosie, merged into one. Janet, I can't even imagine all of the videos you went through to do that. I thank you so much for your time to do that. So this is great. I'm guessing Carrie and Janet will follow up with me. We'll coordinate what we can do, and I will continue to communicate out to the group, which is really much larger than this smaller group here today. Hopefully after they review this, then they kind of are aware what maybe is coming up on this end that can support that. So besides that, I think we're good on the presentation. I just want to leave it open. Any other final questions or thoughts before we move to the next couple of things I have on my agenda?
I would just say that if you have feedback as you get to start using this, certainly, I don't know if Shauna wants to blast out my email and Janet's email, that you can give us some feedback so we can know how we can make any changes that would make it easier to use. Janet's going to be presenting on her journey on this, so she would be happy to share kind of that process of how we've come to different versions of it if we make any changes.
Okay.
And Janet, if I can, you know, answer any questions for you or, you know, help you, you know, on the Ready Rosie end, let me know.
Awesome.
You've done an incredible job.
It is a privilege to be a part of it. And it's one of those projects that, as I was watching the videos, it gave me ideas for ways that I can interact with kids in my life. And I'm getting my PhD in school psychology, and it still spurred many ideas that I have never thought about in terms of promoting specific skills. So it really was a learning experience for me professionally and personally, and I'm glad to be a part of the project.
Well, thank you for having us today, Shauna. We look forward to hearing how this works out for you all.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, and Janet. Thank you very much. Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of housekeeping things that I want to do since we have a little extra time then. All emails went out Friday afternoon to every district manager to double check the usage of your staff or anybody who's falling under your district. So center teachers, preschool teachers, home visitors, their usage of Ready Rosie was audited from January 1 to March 7th. As some of you may know, it's sometimes really hard to capture what a teacher is doing depending on how playlists get scheduled, when they log in, what they did. A lot of times it could be that it showed that a teacher viewed a video. That could mean that a teacher viewed the video within the classroom, but it doesn't necessarily say. So it could just say a teacher viewed a video, which doesn't tell me a lot. But I did the best I could to audit the usage. And so nobody gets left out of the potential of the reward for the incentive gift card to Lakeshore. I really would like you as district managers to go on your sites, if I've marked them as not using, to look to see what you're seeing. And if there is, if you can see use, or if there's some justification of them using it that I'm just not seeing, please feel free to email me and let me know. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out. So if they're utilizing it and I just didn't catch it on my side, I would love for it to be at least brought to my attention so we can include those staff who are actually utilizing it. Again, it is a reward for the utilization of it. So we do also, it's on the Be Honest type situation. So it's like I said, the best I could do as far as I could tell that was being used. So those I'm hoping will be sent out April 1st. They will be emailed as far as I'm understanding, although I guess I'm hearing back from a few programs. These would be emailed directly to the teacher. So I have their email captured off of Ready Rosie into a spreadsheet that I have to give to Lakeshore. I have had a few programs ask me if there's another way to do that rather than emailing out those gift cards. So I will follow up with Lakeshore to find out what the other options were. I know they would prefer to do it that way, but we will see, and I will work with you the best I can. So please let me know if it's not going to work for your teachers to get those electronically. If you can let me know so I can get those programs flagged, and we'll figure out a different way for that to happen. The only other thing I have is, Nicole, I know you're not, your picture's not on, but you're on. I have promised to kind of have statewide sharing of the use of Ready Rosie from community to community, or program to program, and district to district. Nicole from Gothenburg is going to utilize Ready Rosie in a capacity for their upcoming family event during Week of the Young Child. So I would just like Nicole to share a little bit about what she's doing for this activity.
Hi there. So this is new for us. We've never done this before, but our plan is modeled loosely after North Platte's family engagement activity that would have been over a year ago. I think it was February of 2020, right before COVID hit. So what we are doing, we're partnering with the YMCA and their Healthy Kids Night. And so we're doing a Healthy Families and Kids event. And we are going to set up 10 stations in the YMCA gym, trying to encourage families to move from station to station together. 3 of those stations, we will use our iPads and have a Ready Rosie video queued up and ready. And so the family will watch the video, and we'll have providers at all the tables. So the provider will help the family watch the Ready Rosie video, and then we will have all of the materials at the table that the family needs to complete the activity. So one of them is, I can't remember what the video is called, but it's charting. So we'll have a piece of paper with a graph, blank graph, and then we'll have a little bag of M&Ms. And so the kid the family will watch the video about how to graph candy by color, and then they'll open their bag of M&Ms. The family will do the activity together. The kid will eat the M&Ms, and then they'll go on to the next table. So we just went through, found 3 videos that we thought would lend themselves to this type of event. And so we're going to try it, and we'll let you know next month how it goes.
Thanks, Nicole. I know I kind of put you on the spot because I didn't give you a heads up for today's agenda. So I just thought her idea when she had reached out to Teddy and I last month about what videos maybe could be utilized. And I will tell you guys, she's using 3, but I think between Nicole, Teddy, and I'm sure we came up with, I don't know, a lot, huh? I mean, just going through there to see what activities families could do together with all different ages of children. So infants, toddlers, preschoolers, whatever that happened to be. And then easy access items that didn't cost a lot of money to implement into a station. So there were so many things. So if it's something that you maybe want to try as a family engagement tool down the road and get people to move from station to station and try different things, or even just to do like an infant station and have 3 or 4 things for infants and do a toddler track and do a preschool track. I think there's so many ways you could do that if you had access to the tablets or iPads or whatever that happened to be. Genius idea, and hopefully, you know, more that we are getting to do face-to-face activities. I think the more opportunity to do some of these ideas as an actual in-person family engagement activity would be so great. So that's our sharing for today. So if anybody has a genius idea of how you're using Ready Rosie between now and next month, message me, let me know. I will put you on the platform next month and you will share out next month. Because I think what the great thing of bringing you all together monthly is being able to share those ideas so nobody has to reinvent the wheel. I mean, what Nicole's doing is so simple and it does not cost a lot of money to do. So I think that's something that everybody should just know about so that you have access to that. Besides that, Teddy, is there anything that you wanted to add on to today? You're on mute.
I just want to let you guys know that we now have hyperlinks to the custom playlists that your teachers, if they've sent out those custom playlists, when you drill down, that's what I was trying to click down. But when you drill down by school, by teacher to their classroom page, and you scroll down to the bottom where it says playlist for this class, it now tells you the date that playlist was sent out, who sent that out in case multiple people are assigned to the classroom. And those are hyperlinks. And so now when you click on those, it'll take you to that actual playlist report. So now you'll be able to see at your admin level, are the families watching the videos that teachers are sending out specifically aligned? And if they are putting some of these now from the CDC alignment document into a little short playlist or whatever, you'll be able to track and see, you know, those on those custom playlist reports. So that's new, probably within the last 2 weeks, maybe, I want to say. So that's all I had.
Okay, I think that's it for the day. So you're going to get 2 extra minutes into your day. Now 1, sorry, 2:29 now. So I think that's it. Going to sign off for the afternoon. Thank you, everybody. I will get this sent out as a recording to all of those who were unable to attend today, which is too bad because I think this was great information, and I think the opportunity to be able to ask a question or learn more in person. However, I think it's also going to be great viewed as a video too. So thank you all. Bye.
Bye.